We've reached the month of June. The Guardians are in first place, and Jose Ramirez doesn't look like an all-star. We'll talk about what's wrong with Jose Ramirez, where things stand for the Guardians heading into June, and this rough New York series ahead.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is June 1st, and Jose Ramirez doesn't look like he's on track to be an all-star in 2026. I think the last time that happened was 2019. He was coming off a rough 2018 season, unless he has a hot month. And we'll talk about if he can do that on today's show on Locked On Guardians, your only daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians that covers your team every day from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. That's Jeff Ellis on the other side of the mic and screen. Been here for 8 years hosting the show. I'm Justin Lada. Been here for 4 years hosting the show. And we've both been covering the Guardians farm system in the draft for the last 19 years. So later on in the show, we will get into the matchup with the Yankees that starts tonight. That's going to be an interesting week. We'll take the temperature of the team and where things stand now that we're 2 months into the season. But Jeff, let's address the Jose Ramirez size elephant in the room. I guess that wouldn't be a very big elephant because Jose is not a big guy.
Miniature element.
Yeah, elephant. And I'm going to be honest. I phrased it that way because I'm in the camp where, like, yeah, the numbers don't look good in certain areas, but he's still above average, and I still see things where they might turn around. So, like, I guess if we were to compare elephants, that would be the size of the elephant in the room that I'm not as concerned about Jose as you are.
Yeah, I am. I'm pretty concerned. I gotta be honest with my own. We've had different looks and different deep dives and different approaches with it. So you get to hear two different perspectives. And, the bottom line is it's him being average, him struggling to, hit 230 is a thing that hurts this team because of where he plays and his importance to the lineup and just importance to the team and the city. It's like Quan hurts, but you can overcome it because you know what? He hits with the 70 or 80 WRC plus the second half of every year. Manzardo, people are ready to bury him, even though by multiple metrics, he was the team's best hitter in the month of May. I know he had some ugly strikeouts on Sunday, but you got to have a long-term memory with this stuff. But Jose, both those guys, they can deal with them not living up to expected performance. When Jose is this far before expected performance and with his, it feels like every time he comes up almost with a runner on, you can almost count on an out this year, which is also just very unusual for him. I undersized guys and third baseman in general are not positions that age particularly well. So I've always been a little more nervous than you. And yeah, there's not a lot of 5'8" guys who had great careers into their mid-30s.
Yeah, I mean, there is the physical aspect for sure. We've dived through this a lot, like as the year has gone on so far, and waited to see if things would turn around. Like, again, Jose is still an above average hitter, mostly because of the walks. Like, he's got more walks and strikeouts, which is good. Teams are still very weary of pitching to him.
Highest walk rate of his career.
Yes, and I will say that's one of the reasons I'm not quite as concerned. The swinging strike rate overall is not up over last year. He's not chasing any more than he has last year, not by a margin where you would your eyes would pop out. I don't think it's actually less than it was 2 years ago. There's still a lot of data in here for me where I'm like, yeah, it's very weird. We're sitting here on June 1st and Jose he's got a 107 WRC plus and he's hitting below 230 and his slugging percentage is below 400. And, I'm not going to sit here and act like, no, there's no reason to worry. And it's not an aging thing. Cause if I had that answer, I'd probably be working for the Guardians or some other team. Cause nobody has these answers and Father Time is undefeated. But the weird, I look at the metrics and just watch him play. And it's like, there's so many oddities about his data this year. Like, he's hitting the ball harder than he ever has. Right.
But his max exit is actually down.
Okay. The max is actually down. Sure. But
yeah.
On a consistent basis, he's hitting the ball harder than he has in years past, which is very strange. And the biggest thing you can look at here is from the right side facing lefties, he is still mashing left-handed pitching. And he's always mashed left-handed pitching for the most part. And unfortunately, the numbers are bad versus right-handed pitchers, and he does most of his batting from the left side of the plate.
80% of your at-bats.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And the real issue right now is that his bat speed is down from the left side. His fast swing percentage, which is anything above 75%, 75 miles an hour. So when you swing 75 miles an hour, that is considered a fast swing. That's been the biggest thing. It's down from like double digits, I think, to 5% of the time. So basically every 1 in 4 at bats for Jose from the left side of the plate.
League average is 24%, and he's at 5%.
Yeah, it's that's where the most concerning thing is for sure. And just to kind of go into the details of like why that matters, because when you hit 75 miles an hour there's a significant like increase in terms of your production. Same with bat speed. You get to a certain bat speed, you get to have you have a lot of guys who are hitting the ball like crazy and having great production when you hit certain metrics with bat speed and fast swing and everything like that. Those are things that's what's down is weird. And I think you can see some of that is affecting his ability to pull the ball because he's not pulling the ball as much as he used to. He's hitting the ball to center, and he's hitting the ball hard, but he's hitting it to center field where those turn into outs because you don't want to hit the center fielder because most teams run out their best fielder out there. And that could be directly related to slower bat speed and slower fast swing percentage. But my thing about the aging, my argument here about the aging is your body doesn't care about which side of the plate you hit from. The body ages the same way. I looked up multiple.
If it's not your most comfortable side, it can. I mean, there's a lot of switch hitters who stop switch hitting late in life or become strictly platoon hitters through baseball history.
So power in a swing comes from your legs, hips, trunk rotation. It moves up the kinetic chain. And this is all, by the way, this is not my own research. This is a peer-reviewed physical therapy and baseball study from going back to 1995, the biomechanics of swinging. And all of those things, your legs, your hips, your trunk rotation, you use them on both sides of the ball. If you're a switch hitter, you're using both sides. Aging does not care about whether you're a left-handed hitter. It does not pick a side.
But if it's not your natural side, it would have an effect, just like anything else in life. You're more comfortable throwing one way, but that's
not
just
according
bodies.
To this, not according to peer-reviewed research, Jeff. I mean,
I would have to see again.
The Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy says that aging,
it's
when it comes to baseball and swing.
But it's like how much, and again, what is our sample size?
Physical therapy.
But what is the sample size on switch hitters? It's the thing where you have to look at very specifically. It might be saying it's the whole, but like, is it specifically talking about switch hitters? Like, is that article specifically about switch hitters and how much of a sample?
It's not. No, it's talking
and
about
that's why it's about bodies, but this is a very different thing because it's someone who's doing something specifically that is their natural way and a way they had to learn. So then we're talking about what is different with something that is a learned skill over what is their body's natural movement. So it doesn't quite fit in with a physical therapy thing because it's a physical therapy thing is going to be how your body interacts and moves in your typical way, not in the non-typical of a switch hitter.
It's still looking at the same biomechanics, whether your legs, your hips, and your trunk rotation are shared between both sides of the plate.
They are, but
using
what you do naturally
power.
But it's very different in a switch hitter because you're doing something unnatural. You're doing something that you had to train yourself to do as opposed to the natural approach of your body. The
research I found says that the aging curve doesn't pick a side. You would see his bat speed is not down from the other side. There's a lot of metrics from the right side.
His bat speed is down from the other side because he's not getting to that fast swing. He can't swing. He's 36% on the left side and 5%.
You know, he's got it right now. He's got a career high in bat speed.
But I'm saying his fast swing. So bat speed is just it's
up over last year. It's
it's an averaging, but his fast swing, the number of times that he swings over 75 miles an hour. So that's
36%.
But that's just bat speed in general. What we're seeing here is the direct opposite of what you're telling me, because what we're seeing is his bat speed's up. That's great. But what we're seeing is from the left side, it's massively down. His fast swing is down. His bat speed is down. And from the right side, we're seeing it's it's fine.
It's marginally up.
I mean, it's basically the same. It's only 0.7, which is basically the same. But that shows to me a sign of
they are career highs, by the way. I will say they're marginally up, but they are career highs. Like it's career high.
No, 40 point. He had a 40.5 in 2024 from the right side. So the fast swing.
Okay, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
He's
Still,
been much higher. I mean, in that year, he had an 18.9 from that's overall 11.5. So it's gone down half. I think what you're seeing here, honestly, my take on this is the fact the fast swing is down so much. It's down 3.5% basically. I think and that's why he's not pulling it, is that I think he's not able to turn on the pitch quite like how he used to, and that's why he's hitting it straight to center field. It's why he's up 7% in terms of how hard he's hitting everything to center. He's not hitting it to the left or right. I mean, he is still pulling, but it's interesting. Both corner sides are down and center is a massive up amount. So when you're looking at the whole picture of it, it just, to me, this looks like a guy who has, and he's also missing in the zone, his heart of the zone. He's almost has as big of a negative score as he had all of last year. And that's in a 3-year decline. And he's missing in the zone. He's missing with the it's very, his profile to me shows 3 years of declining data kind of in a lot of other areas. And that's what has me worried, that like, I don't know if maybe he's selling out to swing harder than he needs to. That's part of the debate, which we saw with like Carlos Santana a year ago. He was nowhere near as far gone as Santana was, but this does feel like almost a degree of overcompensation. He's also like his highest walk rate of his career with his highest by far first pitch.
Yeah.
So which is a little.
That's why I think a lot of the data. That's why I think a lot of the data is very goofy. And that's why I'm sitting here saying there's a lot of flukiness to this. But I do have a theory about the issue happening on the left side of the plate. We'll get into that. We'll talk about where things stand here in the month of June as we are 101 games into the season. And I'm going to cringe, and we're going to look at this Yankees matchup that's coming up this week. I got to be honest, I don't love it. When you think of summer, you think about the flavors. One of those nostalgic flavors is cotton candy. If you got a sweet tooth, you want to check out the Cotton Candy 5-hour energy shot that brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. It's the classic taste we all remember and love with a tasty caffeine boost. And it's got zero sugar. It's quick and an easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. No guilt, no crash, good tasting energy for you to stay up and watch all the college baseball that I've been doing. Of course, the Guardians being in New York, all that kind of stuff. You're going to need the energy. I love the flavor. And I can't be eating sweets all day, of course. And as much as I'd like to in the summer, you need something that's going to give you an energy boost, not the guilt, not the crash. And that is why you want Cotton Candy 5-hour energy. Bring on the sweetness shots. Available now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Thank you to each and every person out there who makes Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. If you are here every day and you haven't checked out the Everydayer Club, here's what you're missing out on. You're missing out on ad-free episodes of the show every single day, and you're missing out on the private Discord server where Jeff and I are in there talking with other Guardians fans, other listeners of the show, and as well as other channels on Discord that are, Locked On Tigers. You can see what their fans are complaining about, and the Royals and the Twins and the White Sox. They're actually a pretty cheery bunch right now, even though they're fighting over who to take with the first pick in the draft. But it's a lot of fun over there. And you can get a 7-day free trial right now by going to lockedonguardians.supercast.com or clicking the link in your show notes to join in. All right, here's my theory, Jeff. And this is not a proven theory. I have like 8 pages of notes over here. I will say I did a lot of prep for this. In terms of like bat speed and fast swing rate and what the data says about Jose and what's going on here. And the thing I'm going back to here, I don't think this will surprise you. You might wave it off and say that's probably not what's happening, and I can't confirm if it is or not. We'll never know until September or October. Jose did jam his shoulder back in spring training, his right shoulder, when he dove back into from a pickoff. And he had to have an MRI. They didn't do imaging on it. They said it was just inflammation. It was fine. I am wondering if there's a lingering shoulder issue that's hurting his bat speed from the left side because it's the dominant side. Your front shoulder is doing a lot of the work. It's all connected, but it's doing a lot of the work. Your top hand was the left shoulder. The left shoulder was what he jammed. Your top hand and your top shoulder are doing a lot of the work when it comes to generating power in those fast swings, because your front arm and your front hand is what's doing a lot of the guiding and helping you make contact, but it's the drive that's coming through with your shoulder is where you're generating a lot of the power when you get the torque through the zone. So whether that's your hand or your shoulder, what's doing the work, I wonder, because we are seeing there's been no real decline from this year to last year from the right side swinging the bat, because his right shoulder would be doing a lot of the work from the left side or from the right side when he's not swinging with that shoulder he jammed in spring training. I do wonder if there's an underlying injury. I know maybe there are some people who say, well, that's a scapegoat or whatever, but we do know Jose is the kind of guy who will play through any injury. I mean, this is a guy who came back in 2019 from hamate surgery with 0 rehab games because minor league baseball was done. He didn't have a chance to. And he came back into a grand slam in his first at bat after a month. This guy does not come out of games for anything. And it would not shock me if he's not telling anybody that his shoulder that he jammed in spring training is still a problem. Like I'm not saying that's exactly what it is, but it did happen. And I'm trying to figure out why, outside of the study I'm looking at here about the aging curve and how it doesn't agree with you, Jeff, on.
Again, it's not written about switch hitters, though. You're talking about physical therapy and things that don't relate directly to, like, I need a study that's baseball based, not based on like a wide variety of different things with people. It's not meant for baseball. Like, baseball is such a big thing that there are studies specifically for this. I don't think it's that. We know that when he hurt his thumb, he let the team know and they worked through it. If it was something as big as a shoulder, he'd be resting more. He'd be getting some more shots. They'd be doing more like they did when he hurt his thumb. I think what we see, honestly, is this data has been declining over the last 3 years, since age 31, 32, and now 33. This is what happens to guys in their 30s. Like, this is the natural baseball life progression. Now, is he going to stay at 107? I don't think so. I think you look at something like BABIP, there has been some bad luck. I think he'll rebound. I think we might be done with the MVP days. Like, he might be like a 125 to 130, which is still really great. I don't know if we're going to see
133 last year.
I know. Yeah. It's like hitting kind of, and then we'll have to see how it shifts. You're hoping he can get back up to there because, with the hard hit rate. But it just, when I look at the picture, when I look at his heat maps, like his dark red on his heat map this year is much smaller than years past. And then you look at things like the runs in the zone, like the heart of the zone has been getting worse just in general. Like, it turned negative in 24. Last year was a -6. This year it's already a -5. The shadows kind of moved up and down, but his chase rate has the values on that were pretty buoyed, and then the drop. But he's doing a lot of little things, and then it's just you're going to start hitting the ball to center and pulling it less. If you're just a half a fraction behind. It's the same thing with his pop-ups, which he's gotten into a better position with, but he's been the king of the pop-up, because if you're just a half a second off, that's when you end up hitting it to center instead of pulling it. You end up hitting it in the air. Like, that's where my concern is. And as I always say with all this stuff, it's like, I want to be wrong. I don't want to be right. I still to this day wish I was wrong about John Kensey Noel, because he's a great dude. He's a lot of fun. He was my kid's favorite player, but I have to kind of just sit back and look from my perspective at it. And, sometimes I'm terribly wrong. Like, there are guys I have been completely, utterly wrong about. So far this year, Rocchio looks like he's going to prove me wrong, and I will gladly take that, because I would much rather that be the case than the other way around. But then I'm also have those Bazzana moments where I appear to be right on him, and we'll see. But, I just see the declining data across, all the stats. And then it's just guys, like I said, there's a long history, and I wish I could remember in my lifetime, but a lot of guys who are switch hitters that, like, they moved in their 30s, they gave up switch hitting, or they moved in their 30s and they became more platoon guys because of that's where the advantage was. Like, I just have this memory of guys kind of switching that role as they age. And again, there is no one to set a course for Jose. There isn't. Just a 5'8" guy with his power. You go back to when I was a kid, a guy with his size just wouldn't have gotten the second opportunity to be this. He would have been a folk hero in, independent baseball or Japan. He probably would have gone and been a star in Japan, because a 5'8" guy would not have got a second opportunity like Jose did. But it is interesting, and it's kind of hard to say exactly what's going to happen here, because he is a unicorn. There is no one else like him. And the best part is, like, again, we do have this stuff that points to, like, he crushes lefties. He has his BABIP shows a degree of bad luck. Part of that bad luck is also tied to the fact of where he's hitting the ball. So it's the give and take of that. Like, his BABIP is bad because he's putting so many balls into center field. Like I said, a 7% shift in balls to center field this year versus last year, and that's taken away from both opposite field and away. So it's gonna be curious to see. All I know is it's June 1st, and he's roughly he's 7% better in average, and this team is still in first place for all of their struggles and this and that. And they've had a really hard schedule, and for as much as everyone wants to, myself included, get annoyed with this team, they also haven't had any rest. They have been the team that has played the most games. This is a team that it has to be worn down, and they've had crazy travel as well, multiple West Coast trips so far in this part of the season. It has not been an easy schedule. People will accuse me of making excuses, but maybe that'll also be a thing. Maybe Jose just does need a little bit more rest because the schedule has been so ridiculous in the early going.
Yeah, we can certainly talk about that. I got a couple more data points on Jose we can look at as well. And I think it's a good argument whether or not, I think we agree, Jose is not 107 WRC plus bad. He's not cooked to that degree. I agree. You're saying 125, 130. He was 133 last year.
Maybe he's just a 115 to 120 guy. But either way, that's still good.
Yeah, it's still good. I think the argument whether or not as he bounces back, and I do think there's plenty of reason to say he will bounce back to that. We'll continue to talk about that, where the Guardians are 101 games in 2 months. I think 2 months covers 101 games. That seems like a lot. And then we'll talk about the Yankees series ahead. Yikes. Make sure you keep up with the show every single day, whether you're an everydayer or not. You can hit the bell on YouTube, and that keeps the notifications coming to your phone. We post post-game reaction videos and any breaking news we react to, plus our daily shows. And please auto download on all your favorite audio platforms, because that's the best way to support the show. Keeps it in your feed so you can go back and listen to shows like this one if you miss it the first time, because the show might carry for a while. We cover a lot of day-to-day topics here because we're a daily show and baseball is a daily sport. But this is a show you can kind of go revisit a month from now and see what happens with Jose Ramirez. Jeff, the last data point I want to go to.
You can laugh at me and tell me I was wrong in a month, and I'll be like, thank God.
Yeah. Because, and again, we'll talk about the glass half full thing here in a second. But I will say, if you look at the maps of where teams are pitching Jose, they have shifted very far away from him. I was looking at the where they're pitching him. He's seeing a lot more sinkers and changeups blown away this year than he has before as a left-handed hitter. As a right-handed hitter, the attack pattern hasn't really changed. So maybe teams will see this and say, well, we're going to change the attack pattern with him right-handed based on these changes. There's a very good chance pitchers have noticed that his bat speed's a little bit slower from the left side, and they've gone sinker changeup away, because those are pitches you have to reach out for, and they're harder to pull. And if you do, it's going to be very a weak pull. And that's what happened to him in 2019 and 2018. Remember, is that he was trying not to pull the ball too much because they did the whole 4 outfielder thing, and he thought, oh, I got to hit the ball the other way a little bit more, and
didn't work for him.
That got in his head, and then he finally reversed course and became Jose Ramirez again. Maybe he'll have to shift to that approach a little bit more now that, you don't put 4 outfielders out there, and teams are pitching him a little bit differently. The bat speed is there. I'm gonna wait and see if they can ever confirm it, but I do wonder about the shoulder thing. It's just so weird that it's not happening. That bat speed hasn't slowed from the right side, even though he's not pulling the ball as much from the right side either, and he's still crushing.
But he's always had a big change in those 2 bat speeds. He is always the fast.
Yes, that's always
been massively
true. That's always been the case. So we are sitting here at 101 games. It is June 1st. And I do think Jose will be a 120, 130 WRC plus guy by the end of the year. I do believe that. And that'll be good for this team. But that hasn't happened yet. I don't think Jose is going to be an all-star. Tanner Bybee's had some pretty bad starts. He's had some good ones, but he's had some blow-ups. Slade Ciccone was pretty much unplayable in April. They didn't have another choice, but he was pretty much unpitchable in April for the most part. The bullpen was shaky in April, as a whole. Gaddis was hurt. Cade Smith was trying to fix, some command issues and settle into the closer's role. And Eric Zabrowski is hurt now, and, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a long-term thing. Guan doesn't look as good as he used to either. He's struggled. And this team, Jeff, is in first place. And, yes, I know there's only 2 teams above 500, the White Sox and the Guardians. But you know what? There's only one team in the AL West that's above 500, Jeff. There's only two teams in the AL East that are above 500. So it isn't just the excuse that, oh, this is just the AL Central and they stink. No, two teams in the AL East are above 500, the Yankees and the Rays. One team in the AL West is above 500. That's the division leading Mariners, who finally got off their butts and got moving. The whole American League right now is mediocre. So you can't sit there and say, oh, it's just the bad AL Central. It's not. Everybody is mediocre right now. And I'm still taking the glass half full approach on this team because all the things I just said. And you had a tweet the other day I thought was great. And things have changed since then. But the Guardians, according to strength of schedule, as of June 1st, have the easiest remaining schedule. I'm sorry, second easiest remaining schedule. Yes, they have to play New York 6 times. Yes, they have to play the Rays 3 times in Tampa. They still play Milwaukee. They have the Padres as one of the hard teams to play left, Jeff. And I think we both agree that by the time the Guardians and the Padres play, I think the Padres are going to.
They have so much that is not.
You want to talk about a team that's glass half empty? That is glass half empty team. They list the White Sox as a tough team, and the Guardians have yet to play the White Sox, and they still have to play the Rockies. They have the Tigers 9 more times, who are a disaster. They have the Royals 6 more times, who are a
Tigers,
disaster.
by the way, have had the easiest schedule so far in baseball,
and they have the hardest schedule left from here on out as it relates to AL Central teams. So they're in real deep trouble. So again, I'm going to keep taking, and like you said, this team just played 27 games in 29 days. They had 2 13-game and 13-day schedules back to back. They had 13 games, a day off, 13 games, a day off, and now they finally just got a Thursday, Monday. So this team has played a lot of games. Things have not been perfect. They've done some good things. Bazzana's been great. Rocchio has been way better than I would have expected. Still no offense from catcher.
I don't think you're counting on it this year.
No, I'm just saying. DeLauter's month of May was okay, but like he definitely struggled.
And Bazzana's better than I expected so far. I mean,
yeah, there's that. Yeah, Rhys Hoskins has improved this month. David Fry had a good month of May, so like there are good things too. And Kate Smith looks great. I think Hunter Gaddis is back. I'm still worried about the underbelly of the bullpen. I will say, I think Holderman's going to be fine. I mean, maybe he won't be fine because like the track record isn't long, so I can't say for sure he's going to be fine. But like, I think he'll be okay. I like where things are going, but I like Holderman, Gaddis, Smith, and after that, I'm like, the rest of the bullpen is kind of a question mark. No, like sooner or later, you're going to need Alamon, you're going to need Walters, and hopefully Sabrowski comes back. So that's like my big concern. But I'm still glass half full on this team, the way things have gone, and they're in first place. Let's stop acting like, oh, this bullpen's terrible. No, Cody Hoyer and Tim Herron is a guy who needs to be good, but he's not right now. But like your key guys are good in the bullpen. They're good. This team overall is pretty good. I don't know why we're acting like, oh, this team stinks. And yeah, they scored 3 runs or less in 8 of the 9 games. How many games of those did they win? They won most of them. They were 6-1 on a road trip where they scored like 4 runs in one of those games or one of those 3 series. So I'm not saying there's not things to complain about or be worried about. I just said there are, but like, let's stop acting like just because they lost a couple games, the sky is falling.
Yeah, and I also like a lot of people who get, what you're talking about, this whole idea of like, oh, well, the Central's terrible. We don't have, it's an unbalanced schedule now. It's not like any team gets rich facing the other teams in the Central. It's not like they have some massive schedule advantage. Now, Cleveland actually, they've had some ups and downs, and they don't have the hardest schedule. And the reason they don't have the hardest schedule by strength of schedule is because, like, the Tigers have been bad, and a few of the teams by record, like Boston, is terrible by record.
Yeah.
But Baltimore, not good by record, but they've done that. But they've also faced like the Dodgers and the Mariners, who is a division leading team. The Rays, a division leading team. Multiple games against Kansas City is also going to hurt you with their struggles. But yeah, I agree with you. It's like there's this whole tendency with this team, and I'll put it on Front Street. Like, I'm sure tomorrow there's going to be people running down the streets like, hey, look, the Browns traded again. They're the face of their franchise, but they got some draft picks, because that has always worked out well for that organization. They have done so well with draft picks. But like, it's always the hope for tomorrow. Whereas with this team, it's like, we have to deal with people being like yesterday. It's like, I was very critical to you in our texts with Tanner. I was, had my concerns. So it's like the people who want to like hang him up in effigy. I'm like, come on, like you're being silly. Like, let's stop. Or the same people who are getting mad with Manzardo. It's like you can't just look at the one game. How many games he had? At least 2 or 3 pinch hit in the 9th, like tie games up and get like. There's such a knee-jerk reaction with this team, and there is still, I've been doing this podcast for 8 years. There is such an undercurrent of toxicity with the fan base and the team with certain fans that it is like they take more joy in a loss than a win. I was playing my OTP game recently because I love those games where you manage a baseball team. And let's say we've hit a rough stretch where my team was bottom in the AL Central, but we had the guy who was leading the American League in home runs, and all I could think was, there's a subset of this fan base that would be happy with that we've got an overpaid player at first base, but at least we spent money. We have a guy who leads the league in home runs, and we're in last place, and that is better than winning for a certain subset of this fan base, weirdly. And it's not everyone. It's not mostly not our listeners. I'd say 99% of our listeners. I would say 100% of our listeners. It's just random 1% that like to jump in the comments who don't actually listen. But like, it's a fun team. DeLauter has been great. Bazzana has been great. We can talk about our concerns with Cooper Ingle, but that dude has been fantastic in AAA, and it's going to be fun when he gets a chance with the team this year, and he'll get a chance. Daniel Espino is one of the best stories in baseball. He is going to get a chance this year. You're going to have, Ralphie might get a chance this year, and he might be the most complete hitter in the minor league organization from, anyone who qualified this year. And then, Gavin is leveled up this year. Parker Messick looks like one of the 10 best pitchers in the American League. We can sit here and focus on the negatives. And yeah, the offense is scuffled right now, but every team goes through that. It's a long season. Every team has those ups and downs. It's not the horrendous offense of a year ago. And there's a lot of fun things.
They're going to be inconsistent.
There's a lot of great young talent. And yeah, I'm with you. Like, it's a first place team, and we're going to sit here and act like they're a last place team. And I just don't understand that mindset. I will never understand that mindset.
So I'll push back on a couple things you said there. I mostly agree with you, but I will say this. So I think it's okay. Like, again, this goes back to the two things can be true at once thing, which I think we have to remember for all things when it comes to life or baseball. So I think it's fine. Like if you're a fan and they lose, like, I was frustrated on Sunday.
Be frustrated. That's fine. I agree with you.
Yeah. I'm saying, like, yes, because it's baseball and it's so different, you still have to look big picture. I think in the moment when things happen, like the Red Sox series where, they were in it, and then Will Dion came in Saturday, got blown up. He came in Sunday when they didn't handle the bullpen very well, and it was a close game, a couple calls. Like, it's fine. I think it's fine to sit there and not overreact, but just that's how fan it is. You emotionally react.
No, I agree. I agree completely.
During the high moments, I get excited and I high five my wife and whoever we're with, and when they're mad, I'm like, oh, well, there goes the game. I do the same thing. And then you take a step back and you think, okay, big picture, what does this look like? And both those things, you can have both of those things going on in your mind. So I get that part of things. And the other part here is this. I've been to a lot of weekend games this year, which I normally don't go to a lot of weekend games. But I went to the 2016 reunion, and I went to this past weekend twice just because of how things worked out. And they got over 30,000 fans pretty much all 3 games. So they've actually creeped out of the bottom 5 when it comes to attendance. Now, they're only averaging 21,000 a game, but they legitimately two weekend homestands in May and May. They had 90,000 fans over the weekend. So I don't think the fan base is as like negative as we think. I think it's the loud minority that's very negative.
That could be fair. I will say ESPN has them at 23rd in attendance.
Okay. Yeah, which we're used to being, 25, 26, 27, 28. They're not. They've climbed up. So they're not ever going to be great, but that's better than where they've been. We're not going to have time to talk about the Yankee series ahead. But this whole conversation, I think Jeff lends it to, look, this is going to be a tough series. You've got Cam Schlittler, who I think is the favorite for the Cy Young right now.
He is, 100%.
You have Garrett Cole, who has looked very good in his Tommy John return. And
Rondon is struggling, but he's good against this team.
Yeah, like this, there's a potential this is going to be a very tough series for Cleveland. Going to New York, you got a lot of young players and never played in that environment, and you're facing their best pitching. Like, there's a chance they're going to get swept.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to admit that.
Ben Rice is maybe the AL MVP as well over Judge. Yeah. Bellinger is top notch. This young player that got Ahmed Rosario with the 129 WRC plus has been really good for them. Hey, that's when we talked about this offseason as a platoon target that we were right on. There's the one platoon target that we were
could have worked.
We were right on. Volpe,
but
as much as Yankees fans have been negative, he's having a nice. It's
there's
a
potential they're
tough
gonna
team.
Yeah, and guess what? The Yankees come back to Cleveland in the next week, and they bring in Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon again. So there's a potential they might lose 6 out of their next 9 or 5 out of their next 9. But if they do, we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to throw the baby out with bathwater.
Season. Yeah, yes. Just do what I do. When you get really annoyed, when when Connor Wong hits that home run that turns out to be a double, you just close the app, you walk around your house, you take a few laps, then you turn it back open, and you start rewatching. Sometimes you just got to give yourself some grace and some time. Because of the frustration. But what we hope you won't give distance to is this very podcast. We thank you all for joining us, even if you didn't agree with their takes today. Today was a hot debate, and some of you might be annoyed at things, but we appreciate you listening, being kind and respectful, and having a fun time with it. As I'm pretty sure no one is more frustrated right now than Jose. Let's be honest about that. No one is more frustrated right now than Jose. He is a gamer. That is why we love him. And you still, as of now, have a first place Cleveland Guardians team, a team that has a very good chance, no matter what happens, to make the postseason. One of the few teams above 500 in the American League. Thank you all for joining us, and go Guardians, go.